Hey friend, tonight we drift into the golden winds of Egypt, where the breath of the lingers in stone and starlight. You journey through forgotten sands where secrets shimmer beneath the moon. Time slows, the soul listens, so before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And let's begin our journey through story and sleep. You begin where all journeys do in stillness. The air is soft and warm, carrying the perfume of ancient earth and the low whisper of the Nile, winding like a silver ribbon through the dusk. You are standing at the edge of the water, the last rays of the sun staining it bronze. Across the far banks, papyrus sways in time with a breeze that has touched pharaohs and peasants alike. The hush of twilight brings with it a feeling older than memory, a quiet expectancy beneath your bare feet. The river's bank gives slightly, warm with life. The sand remembers every traveler. The fisherman's footsteps, the sandals of high priests, the hooves of sacred bulls, and now yours. You turn your gaze across the horizon, where stone giants rise from the land like the bones of sleeping gods. The pyramids of Giza shimmer in the dying light, their angles casting long shadows that seem to point not toward sunset, but inward, toward mystery. Their form is more than architecture. It is symbol, a language written in shape, in silence, in devotion. The wind shifts. You hear it now, not just a wind, but something woven within it. A murmur, not words exactly, but the shape of words. As if stone is remembering how to speak, you begin to walk. With each step, the ground seems to soften, until you're no longer walking upon sand, but through it as if the desert is parting for you. Whispering open like the folds of a dream, there is no rush, only the rhythm of your breath, the beat of your heart, and the fading call of an ibis flying low across the horizon. You feel the weight of time, not heavy, but vast. It presses gently against your skin, reminding you that here time is not linear. It spirals, loops, folds in on itself, like linen wrapping a sacred text. The present slips into the past, and the past hums beneath your every step. Somewhere ahead, you see figures. In the distance, not people, not quite, carved from sunstone and memory. Statues of forgotten gods line a path you did not know you were following. Their eyes are blind and seeing all at once, their hands outstretched. Not in welcome, but in remembrance, you step between them, and their silent judgment feels neither kind nor cruel, only eternal. You wonder what stories they've watched unfold, what names they've heard whispered in offering, long lost beneath layers of dust and dynasty. The first statue is that of Thoth, ibis-headed and wise, his long beak resting contemplatively against his chest. At his feet lies a scroll, unrolled just enough to reveal symbols that seem to shimmer. Despite the absence of light, you pause before him and feel words fill your mind, not spoken, but planted, a seed of knowledge, a beginning. Next is Sekhmet, lioness of flame, her eyes blaze, and yet you feel no fear, only the deep warmth of protection. She is fury, yes, but she is also the healer after the storm, a reminder that destruction is a path to renewal. You walk further, the statues blur, one into the next, like names in a litany, only the stars still. Remember, each step draws you deeper into something unspoken, a reverence that doesn't ask to be understood, only honored. Ahead, the wind carries the scent of incense, myrrh, and lotus, and something older. It draws you toward a lone structure nestled within the dunes, a small temple, crumbled at the edges, half swallowed by sand, but somehow untouched by time. You enter. The air shifts, cool and thick with sacredness. Inside, the walls are alive with hieroglyphs flowing not in rows, but in spirals, as if the story they tell is not linear, but cyclical, eternal. Your fingers drift over the carvings. You cannot read them with your eyes, but your spirit feels them. They speak of the gods' laughter, the shaping of mountains, and the first time man heard a dream. At the far end of the chamber sits a basin of still water. As you lean over it, the surface does not reflect your face, but instead images flicker. Across it, a pyramid rising in moonlight, a scroll hidden deep within the earth, two figures, one with calculating eyes and a worn hat, the other a woman with hair like braided flame and a mind sharp as obsidian. You do not know them, not yet, but something inside you stirs. You are being invited. You reach your hand into the water. It is warm, deeper than it should be. As your fingers slip below the surface, the chamber begins to blur. The walls stretch, the air thickens, and the incense curls upward like smoke from a distant fire. You feel yourself pulled, not harshly, but completely, as if you're falling through a memory not your own. When you blink, the temple is gone. You are standing now at the edge of a desert camp. Lanterns flicker against the twilight, casting long orange shadows. A map lies open on a crate, trembling in the breeze. You smell the scent of spices and sweat and possibility. Someone hums nearby, a low, thoughtful tune, and somewhere just beneath it all the pyramid waits. Not in sight, not in time, but it waits. The breeze brushes your cheeks as the desert evening begins to cool. You move quietly now, so quietly you barely notice the softness of your own footfalls on the sand. In this moment, you are a presence, not a person, a question, not yet an answer. Lantern light spills out in delicate pools across the campsite. Nearby, the soft murmur of voices is half lost to the hush of twilight. You drift closer. There, beside the open map, a man leans over the crate. His hands are weathered, his green eyes focused with the quiet intensity of someone who lives in the realm of riddles. His name is Ethan, though you do not yet hear it aloud. He wears the layers of a traveler leather, creased by years, pockets filled with objects of forgotten utility, a scarf kissed by the wind and grit of many journeys. He doesn't look up, but he knows something is coming, something is near. His pipe curls smoke into the cooling air. Patterns form, dissolve, reform as if the wind itself is trying to speak in symbols. Not far from him, a woman is crouched beside a satchel, scribbling quietly. Her name is Ava. Her hair, braided like a temple column, glints in the lantern's glow. Her fingers are stained with ink and dust. Her presence hums with a different sort of energy, measured, deciphering, attuned to ancient songs only she can hear. Her eyes trace the night sky, then the map, and then the silence between the two. You linger between them like a spirit, not seen, not unseen, just present. Their voices are low, wrapped in the rhythm of familiarity. Everything points to this spot, Ethan says quietly, tapping the map with one steady finger. We wait, you and that pipe, Ava teases with a wry smile, though her eyes never leave the horizon. I'll never get used to it. He chuckles, a sound that rustles like leather and memory. I'll quit when we find it. The map flutters again. The wind is shifting. The stars begin to glow brighter, more intentional, like dancers preparing. for our ritual. And you feel it too, something old stirring just beneath the veil of the ordinary. You walk with them as they move to the edge of the camp. Ava lifts her binoculars, her breath slow even. The alignment begins soon, she whispers. Not to anyone, not even to herself. Just to the desert. You follow her gaze above. The moon is rising in full, crystalline silence. The sky becomes a dome of deep velvet. One by one, constellations slip into place, like golden gears in a forgotten machine. Stars tremble, lines connect, the desert sighs, then it begins at first. The sands ripple like the surface of still water disturbed by sound. They shift not in chaos, but in intention, coiling, winding, dancing in patterns unseen by the waking world. There, Ava breathes. Do you see it? You squint into the silver-blue distance, and then, impossibly, it begins to emerge. Not rise, not appear, but remember itself. The desert folds, the light bends, and from beneath centuries of slumber, a pyramid lifts into form. It is not like the ones you've seen in books or dreams. This one is darker, its stone the color of volcanic ash, kissed by moonlight. Its edges are impossibly sharp, its presence impossibly still. Ethan stares, his eyes wide, his pipe forgotten. It's real. He murmurs, and the words fall like stones into silence, the pyramid of shadows. You drift with them as they gather their gear in reverent haste. The wind holds its breath. The sand no longer feels like sand, but like the skin of something alive. Breathing just beneath the surface, they approach the pyramid slowly. It does not dominate the landscape, it defines it, as if the desert has always been a veil draped around this shape. The air cools, the moonlight deepens. At the base of the pyramid, great stones press together in silence. There is no door, only carvings. Glyphs layered upon glyphs, winding in recursive spirals. Ava touches them. These aren't just words, she says, voice hushed with awe. They're invocations, warnings. You feel it too. They speak not only to the eye, but to something deeper. The symbols pulse faintly beneath her fingertips, defensive, demanding. They call on powers forgotten, guardians of dark knowledge, deities no longer named. And then she sees it, a pattern within the chaos. A key, she whispers, or a mechanism, something hidden. You lean closer, as if your breath might disturb the ancient dust, as if your presence might help it open. Ethan presses his hands. Against the stone it yields. With a soft, reluctant groan, a great slab shifts inward, revealing a narrow passage. The air that spills out is not stale. It is cold, humid, breathing. They step in. You follow inside. The darkness is velvet, not empty, but full. You can feel it. Something waits here, not asleep, but patient. They light their torches. Flames flicker. Along walls etched with symbols that shimmer and withdraw. The stone glows faintly, as though absorbing the firelight and whispering it back as memory. You walk with them, deeper and all around you. The pyramid watches. The deeper you go, the quieter it becomes. Not a silence of absence, but of presence. A silence so full, so ancient, it feels like the air itself is listening, holding its breath. The corridor is narrow, the stone walls close too close. You feel them pressing gently in. Not in menace, but in memory. You walk beside Ethan and Ava as they step slowly, their torches casting long, dancing shadows that seem to slither behind them. Shadows that do not always match their movements, You catch glimpses of etched warnings along the walls, images of guardians with eyes like stars and hands reaching into the abyss. They are not here to welcome. You realize they are here to warn. Ava's hand trails across the carvings. These are meant to confuse, she murmurs, voice low and husky with awe. They loop overlap layer, like the pyramid itself, Ethan says, glancing ahead. A maze with intent, you continue down a sloped hallway that dips deeper into the earth. The air grows cooler, heavier. The warmth of the surface has been replaced by something ancient, damp, alive. Suddenly a click, so soft, so subtle, but everything changes. Ava's backpack shifts, nudging against the floor. You see her eyes widen, a second too late. A hiss, then arrows, silent, swift, singing. Through the dark, one tears through Ethan's hat and pins it to the stone behind him. The air thrums in its wake. Time stills. Breath held, eyes wide. The three of you freeze in that pocket of suspended danger. Ethan slowly exhales, his chest rising and falling, like the desert's own breath. We almost died, he whispers, not with fear, but with reverence. Ava presses her fingers to her lips. I'm sorry. I didn't see. It's okay, Ethan says gently. It was meant to catch us off guard. You all look down. The stone beneath you is no longer passive. Pressure plates disguised perfectly dot the floor. A game of judgment. One false step in the past punishes the present. Now each step is a prayer. You move forward slowly, your weight barely brushing the stone. Every inch of progress is earned. Ava walks ahead, studying the floor, whispering silent calculations. Ethan follows close behind, ever watchful. The walls pulse with a faint warmth, as though the pyramid itself is aware, curious, testing. At last, you reach a chamber that opens like a breath of space, a cavern of shadow and symbol. Hieroglyphs swirl across every surface, not in neat rows, but in starbursts and curves. They rise from the walls. Like veins, like raised scars, Ava studies them. Her eyes trace the patterns, as her lips silently form thoughts too old for language. It's a puzzle, she says. The constellations, the sun, the moon, they all align. Ethan nods, his mind already unraveling the thread. They encoded. The stars, this, he gestures to the symbols, is a map of the heavens. Together they begin to shift the stone glyphs. One by one they click into place, the sound like bone meeting bone. A celestial order reassembled, and then a deep rumble, low and resonant. The wall ahead splits, dust cascades, stone groans. A hidden passage yawns open wide, dark, waiting. But this time the air that escapes is colder, hungrier. You feel it before you see it. A pressure, like something just awakened from a dreamless sleep. Ava draws closer to Ethan. Ladies first, he says with a thin smile. She smirks. Not a chance. Together. They step forward, and you, silent and steady, walk between their shadows. The corridor twists, turns, loops back at times. You think you've passed the same glyph twice, then 3 times. The walls breathe now, not metaphorically. The walls breathe, stone exhales, and with every curve, every new hallway, you feel it more keenly. You are not alone. You are being watched. A whisper echoes through the stone, not words, shapes of words. Ethan stops suddenly. His eyes dart. Did you see that? He whispers. Ava nods, her face pale. Something moved. You look too, just in time to glimpse it, something small, hunched, and fast slipping around a corner. Not an animal, not a ghost, but something shaped by both. You press on. The torches flicker. The darkness seems thicker here. Not just absence of light, but presence of something deeper. The kind of dark that remembers. At last you reach a chamber that seems to throb with age. It is wide, circular, with a ceiling lost in shadow. Strange statues line the perimeter, twisted, unfamiliar deities with features half human, half nightmare, idols of a pantheon long abandoned. At the center, a stone altar rises like a heartbeat. A sarcophagus rests atop it, not ornate, not regal, but powerful, covered in carvings that move ever so slightly when you blink. Ava steps forward. "This must be the high priest," she whispers. The silence that follows is absolute. Ethan nods. They move together. Placing their hands on the stone lid with a deep groan, it begins to shift. The air around you tightens. Something pushes against your lungs, not weight, but will inside. The mummified figure rests, hands clasped around a glowing crystal. It pulses soft, steady. Like a sleeping star, Ethan reaches out. The moment his fingers brush the surface, the light flares and the pyramid awakens. The light that bursts from the crystal is not like firelight, nor moonlight, nor the glow of anything born above the sand. It is the color of forgotten language, of unspoken truths, of the silence between stars, and for one suspended heartbeat, the world halts. Then silence shatters. The statues lining the chamber tremble, not violently, just enough to remind you they are not as still as they seemed. Their eyes flicker open, milky, glowing, ancient, one by one. Their gaze falls upon you. The air thickens. A humming begins, low, like a choir deep in the earth, not voices, vibrations, words too heavy for speech. The crystal pulses in Ethan's hand, brighter now, almost pleading. "We need to move," he says, breathless. Ava backs away from the sarcophagus, her eyes wide, pupils dilated. The stone walls ripple, just a shimmer, but undeniable. Reality is loosening around the edges. You all run. The passageways twist with new paths. Familiar turns become false. Symbols shift places, and behind you, the whispers grow louder. Not in your ears, but in your bones. They are calling. You turn a corner and stumble into another corridor, heart racing. Dust falls from the ceiling as if the pyramid itself is breathing. Faster, awakening with each step you take. You move past alcoves where shadows huddle. You pass murals that change when you're not looking. You swear you hear chanting. Ava trips. Ethan grabs her arm. The crystal pulses in his hand again, as if aware, as if guiding. You press forward, deeper into the dream walls. Finally, the pressure lessens. You spill into an antechamber lit only by the fading embers of your torches. The darkness presses just beyond the circle of light, waiting. Ethan sets down the crystal. Its glow dimming now, but still alive. He drops to his knees, breath ragged. Ava lowers herself beside him, staring at the artifact. "I don't think it's magic," she says slowly. "Not exactly." You feel the truth of her words before she even speaks them. It's something else, like it's alive, like it knows the stars. Ethan doesn't answer right away. His eyes are distant. Then he whispers, "I saw something when I touched it. A memory, but not mine." You sit in the stillness. The whispers have faded for now, but you feel the pyramid watching, listening. Ava begins to study the carvings around the room. Strange idols loom from the shadows, grotesque faces twisted into permanent grimaces of reverence or fear or both. She touches one carefully, tracing the edge of its crown. There's a click, a small compartment opens with a sigh inside. A scroll, old, delicate. Ethan leans in, eyes wide. Together they unroll it. The illustrations are unlike any you've seen. A circle of robed figures, a central altar, symbols that swirl around the page like constellations. Ava's voice is barely audible. This is a ritual. She runs her finger beneath the lines. Of script, a cult, guardians of the pyramid. They buried their high priest alive to guard the gateway. Ethan stares at the scroll. Gateway? To the underworld, she whispers. The torchlight flickers. A gust of air ripples through the chamber. From nowhere, from everywhere, you all fall silent. The walls hum, and then, like a heart slowly remembering how to beat a thump, not loud, but deep, another thump, then another, rhythmic, reverberating through the stone beneath your feet. You turn to Ava. She's pale. She's listening too. Thump, thump. She nudges Ethan awake. Do you hear that? He sits up gradually. What is it? The stone quivers beneath your palms. The sound deepens, echoes, becomes more than a sound, becomes felt. The pyramid is no longer asleep. The torches extinguish one by one, not with wind, but with intention. Then comes the chanting, low, ghostly, many. Voices from nowhere, from within, you all rise. The crystal tucked tightly against Ethan's chest. You begin to run. The pyramid shifts again, its inner halls morphing, doors open where there were none. Walls pulse like lungs exhaling sand. You race. Forward. Only the crystals glow to guide you. And finally, a massive stone door. It's ajar, just slightly. From within seeps a pale, sickly light, green, unnatural, trembling like liquid flame. You push the door open and step into a chamber of impossible vastness. The ceiling is lost to shadow. Idols loom like watchers, beings half remembered from the dreams of madmen and mystics. The altar stands at the center, upon it the sarcophagus. The chanting grows louder, but now it's inside your mind. Not sound, not thought, a sensation, a current. Ava steps to the altar. This is it, she whispers, the true resting place. Carvings on the sarcophagus pulse with the same light as the crystal. It is bound to this place, bound to him. You all take a breath and lift the lid. Inside lies the high priest. He is perfectly still. His headdress gleams despite the dust. His skeletal hands clutch a second crystal identical to Ethan's, but brighter, angrier. When Ethan reaches to touch it, the chamber trembles. The chanting stops. A pause, then silence. And in the silence, a blink. The idol's eyes ignite, white, blinding, cold. The priest's mouth opens not in scream, but in warning. And then the walls begin to bend. Reality twists. The air turns to syrup. You don't run, you flee. The chamber erupts around you, not in fire, but in distortion. Sound bends, stone twists. The walls ripple like water, their glyphs unraveling, reforming into symbols you've never seen, and yet somehow recognize. The statues no longer merely watch. They move, not with muscle or motion, but with presence. Their gaze cuts through space, through sense. Through you, Ava screams, not in fear, but in resistance, as if trying to anchor herself to this plane. Ethan is already moving, clutching the crystal like a talisman, pulling her by the arm. Back, he breathes. Back, back, back. The whispering returns, but now it is not distant. It speaks inside your lungs, your thoughts, your breath. You flee through the maze again. But this time it shifts behind you. The pyramid is alive, not sentient in the way a creature is, but in the way a storm knows. Passageways bloom and collapse, halls stretch and narrow, and behind you shadows, figures not chasing, not walking, flowing. The air becomes heavier with every step. The pyramid does not wish to let you go. Your heart beats faster, not in panic but rhythm. You're part of its song now. Ava stumbles, Ethan catches her. You grab the torch, you see the entrance up ahead. Moonlight, real, soft, a promise. You dive through the final archway, and suddenly silence. The air is open again. You are outside under the stars. On the cool, familiar sand, the pyramid behind you is already sinking, as if exhaling you like an unwanted dream. Its sharp lines blur, dissolve into the dunes. A memory, again. Ava drops to her knees, gasping. Ethan collapses beside her, still clutching the crystal, now faint and pulsing like a distant heartbeat. You sit in the sand beside them, breath ragged, heart echoing what you've seen, what you've touched, what has touched you. The moonlight is gentle. The wind carries the scent of myrrh and stone, and somewhere beneath the earth the pyramid waits. Later, back at the small camp, Ethan sets up a fragile, portable laboratory beneath the open sky. The table is cluttered with copper wires, hand-cranked machines, and lanterns swaying gently. Ava kneels nearby, sketching diagrams in the sand. Her fingers tremble, but not with fear, with focus. He places the crystal beneath a lens, turns the crank, the copper hums, and the crystal glows, gently, deeply. The galvanometers twitch, the needle dances, an electromagnetic field. Ethan stares, brow furrowed. It's not natural, he says softly. It's engineered. Ava looks up. Not by us, he nods. Maybe not even by them, not as we understand them. He slides the lens higher, under magnification. The crystal refracts symbols, within symbols geometry too precise for chance. Ava watches. Her voice is soft now, almost reverent. It's not just an object, it's a key. They fall silent. The wind lifts grains of sand around them. A soft storm of memory. Ava suddenly speaks. What if it only activates during celestial alignments? Ethan's eyes widen. The pyramid, he breathes. It appeared under the alignment, the energy. He points to the stars. The cult knew how to use this. They weren't just worshippers. Ava adds, they were engineers or something. Beyond it, something between priest and scientist. They record everything, every note, every sketch, every whisper the pyramid allowed them to keep. They are changed, not wounded, but transformed. You sit beside them, beneath the desert sky, and listen and feel and wonder. Much later, a tiny creature stirs beneath the sand. It has no true name. Its form is wrong, too old, too narrow, too soft. It crawls toward the place where the pyramid had stood, where the sarcophagus was opened, where the crystal was taken. Its eyes glow faintly with a milky rage. The ritual has been broken. The watcher has awakened. You exhale. The desert is quiet now. The pyramid is gone. But its whisper lingers, like incense, like breath, like the dream you'll carry long after sleep takes you. Was it truly forgotten or merely waiting? The dream does not end. It flows like the Nile. It bends into new curves, deeper mysteries. You feel the warmth return, first to your face, then your hands, then your lungs. You are breathing sunlight again. You open your eyes, and the desert has changed. It is no longer twilight, nor deep night. The sky above you burns in soft gold, and the land stretches endlessly in every direction, a sea of dunes and memory, but the light feels older, as though the sun itself remembers what it once warmed. You stand at the foot of a vast plateau. From it, pyramids rise, not one, but many, not ruins, not fragments, whole, complete, alive with purpose. You walk slowly, the sand warming your feet. As the structures ahead grow larger, more impossible, their surfaces shimmer, not from heat, but from memory. They shine as they once did when priests anointed them with sacred oils, and pharaohs stood before them to be crowned beneath Ra-Zeus. Gaze, the pyramids are not quiet. They hum a deep, melodic vibration beneath your steps. You do not hear it with ears, you feel it in bone. One pyramid stands taller than the rest, its apex, so high it seems to pierce the veil between this world and the next. This is not the pyramid from before. This one is older, older than the desert, older than death. You walk toward it, and as you do, your eyes are drawn upward. The shape of it, its angles, its balance mirrors the sun's own descent. You realize its lines are not just sacred. They are symbolic, they are star-born. It was built not to house death, but to reflect divinity. You feel it. This pyramid remembers the sun. Its shadow points inward, like a sundial measuring the movement of souls. At the base you find glyphs, some like any you've seen. They are smoother, simpler, more primal, and yet they glow with a deeper knowing. You reach out, your hand rests upon the stone. It is warm, not from sunlight, from life. A voice no louder than breath enters your mind. All who climb must carry the weight of light. You close your eyes, and the wind answers. The scene shifts softly. Now you are not alone. You see hands, many hands lifting stone. Thousands of laborers move in rhythm, guided not by chains, but by sacred music. The beat of drums, the clang of copper tools, the low voices of overseers, chanting the names of gods. They are building not under tyranny, but under purpose. This is not the story you were told. This pyramid is not a tomb. It is a mirror for the heavens. Each stone is placed with intention. You watch a group of artisans carving into limestone. They do not speak. They are focused, devoted. Each glyph is carved as if it is a prayer, an offering, a promise. An astronomer draws a line in the sand. He waits for the sun to reach the exact point on the horizon. He nods, and the next layer of the pyramid begins. You float among them, unseen, untouched, only witnessing. This pyramid is a calendar, a compass, a stairway. At night, torches flicker as priests climb its steps. At dawn, the apex kisses the first. Light before any other point on the horizon, the sun rises because it must for this. You begin to see it now. This is not just architecture. This is devotion given shape. Time curls like smoke. You are back on the sand, at the foot of the same pyramid. But the laborers are gone. The drums are silent. Only the hum remains. You walk along its edge, hand brushing the cool stone, and then you find a doorway, not large, not gilded, hidden, waiting. You push gently. It opens. Inside, the darkness is not empty. It is velvet. You enter. The passage leads downward, curving gently, as though descending into the mind of the pyramid itself. The walls shimmer with a soft mineral glow. Not gold, not stone, memories, symbols appear floating, blinking only to vanish again. They are not written on the wall. They emerge from the wall. You feel them more than see them. You place your palm against one, it pulses and opens. You step through. The chamber you enter is circular, lit by a shaft of sunlight from far above. But you know you are deep underground. That is the miracle of this place. It folds time and space like linen. The room contains a model, a scale replica of the solar system, perfectly etched in black obsidian and polished sandstone. It turns gently, silently, as if touched by an invisible hand. Above it, constellations are carved into the dome. You look closer. Some you know, Orion, Sirius, others you do not. They pulse faintly. You touch the center of the sun. It lights slowly. Each planetary ring begins to glow, and as they do, a second ring appears outside the known. Something beyond, a hidden orbit. You feel your breath catch. The priests who built this knew things lost even now. This pyramid does not house a soul. It protects a map behind you, a breeze. You turn. The wall has opened again, revealing another passage, this one lined with statues, each different. Not gods, not kings, people, faces of every shape and age, farmers, priests, children, each carved with reverence, and above each one, a glyph for the sun. You pass them slowly, and you realize the pyramid remembers them all, not by name, but by light. You reach a final door. It glows softly as you approach. Ava's voice enters your memory. Even though she is not with you now, each chamber tells a truth, but not all truths can be spoken. You press your hand to the door. It opens, and what waits beyond is not a room. It is sky. You step out into sunlight, real, pure. You are atop the pyramid now, but the descent never came somehow. You rose through darkness by sinking. You stand at the summit. The desert stretches infinitely in all directions. The wind is sacred here, and the sun greets you like an old friend. A question echoes through your mind, soft as shadow. Was this pyramid built for the pharaoh, for the sun itself? The summit feels weightless. You stand above time now, above worry, above the hush of history that presses like velvet across the sand. Below you, the world moves slowly. The dunes curl and breathe. The wind stirs. The ancient city sleeps in ruins beyond the horizon, its pillars cracked, its stories nearly forgotten, nearly, but not by the pyramid. The pyramid remembers. You kneel at the apex. The stone is smooth, impossibly smooth. Not carved, but grown, you think. Aligned not only with the stars, but with intention. You see now that this peak once held something, a capstone, not of gold, but of something brighter, something gone, removed, stolen, or hidden. You press your palm to the apex, and a faint warmth curls beneath your skin, winding into your blood, a memory not your own. You are no longer alone. The summit vanishes, and in its place voices, lanterns, a camp. You are Ethan again, or perhaps you are beside him. You stand once more in the early morning haze of the desert camp. The air smells of papyrus, sweat, and cinnamon from last night's tea. The sun is a low disk on the horizon, spilling molten amber across the crates and canvas. And copper tools. Ava steps out of the tent, tying her braid with one hand and balancing a weather-worn notebook with the other. She yawns, smiles crookedly. Sleep well? Ethan shrugs, sipping from a chipped tin mug. I dreamed of stars. She raises an eyebrow. Worrying? No, he says, watching the sky. Reassuring. They sit on the edge of the canvas rug and unfurl the map again. This one is different, drawn from memory, pieced together from the markings inside the pyramid of shadows. It's no longer a place they're chasing. It's a language they're learning. Each glyph is a verb, each line an invocation. Ava traces a constellation drawn in black ink. These 3 stars align every 400 years. Last night they locked perfectly. Ethan leans forward. That was the trigger. She nods. But there's more. The pyramid wasn't the end point. She flips the page, a second structure. Unmarked, unknown, buried, far to the south, a temple or a twin. The next days pass in sunburnt silence. You travel across the dunes, guided, not by compass, but by symbols etched into moonlight and dreams. No map shows the way, only memory does. And the memory is not yours. Ava rides ahead, her scarf fluttering like a banner. Ethan follows, quieter now. The crystal pulses softly in his pocket. The desert unfolds endlessly, until it doesn't. At dusk on the 5th day, you crest a ridge and see it, a pyramid, not unlike the first, but this one is broken, collapsed inward at the top, as if the sun itself scorched its crown. It is wrapped in vines, shrouded in silence. Half consumed by sand, forgotten, but not dead. They dismount and stand before it. The wind stills. The hush is different here. It is sacred. You walk with them, and the closer you come, the more the air thickens, not with heat, but with memory. You feel watched, not in menace. In waiting inside, the pyramid is colder. The walls are cracked, glyphs missing, whole sections erased by time or by choice. But the architecture is familiar, celestial, aligned. This one, too, mirrors the sun. But where? The first was a song of reverence. This one is a warning. The statues here are broken. The idols scarred, the guardians defaced. Ava runs her hand along the wall. They tried to hide it. Ethan's voice is low. Or stop it. You move deeper. The crystal pulses now, stronger, alive. In the deepest chamber, you find it. A second. Altar, shattered. The pieces lie strewn across the floor, surrounded by glyphs scorched black. Whatever ritual took place here, it did not end as planned, but in the far corner, beneath a veil of dust, rests a stone disc, perfect, unbroken. You clean it gently. The carvings reveal a star map and an orbit that does not belong to any known planet, a loop far beyond Pluto, beyond any chart. Ava stares. That's not part of our system. It's a cycle, Ethan says, his voice tight. It returns every few thousand years. You all go silent. What returns? You set up camp outside the broken pyramid. The night is colder here. Stars blaze above, clearer than you've ever seen. Ethan sits by the fire, the crystal held up to the starlight. It glows. Ava writes, cross-referencing the disk's orbit. With her own sketches, she circles a date, still years away. But soon. What do you think this all means? She whispers. Ethan doesn't answer for a long time, and he speaks. I think the pyramids weren't just built to honor the gods. He looks up. I think they were built to prepare us. Above you, the stars swirl. You lie back on the sand. Eyes wide, the hum of the desert soft in your ears, and the question forms, soft as starlight. What did they see that we have forgotten to look for? The stars do not blink. They burn silent, steady, Cold with distance and hot with memory, they have watched civilizations rise and fall, watched languages twist and crumble, watched truths sink beneath sand and sea and sleep. And now you lie beneath them, small, quiet, listening. The fire at your side crackles softly. The disk Ava uncovered rests between you, half lit in amber glow, its etched lines catching the firelight like celestial veins. The crystal sits beside it, faintly pulsing, not with light but rhythm, a beat, a cycle. Something older than clocks. Ethan speaks, his voice low. This isn't about one tune, it's a system. You watch as he reaches into his satchel and unfolds a series of drawings, star paths, pyramid alignments, mythological cycles. Each one mirrors the next. One pyramid built beneath Orion's belt, another beneath Sirius, a third beneath an unnamed constellation, one erased from modern maps. These weren't random monuments, Ava says. They were antennas, keys, each built to awaken something. During certain alignments, Ethan taps the disk again. And it's coming. You dream that night, not in pictures, but in pulses, not in people, but in voices. They speak without words, not to you but through you. They show you a sky split in two, one side burning, the other weeping stars like tears. You wake before the final symbol resolves, but you carry it in your breath. At dawn, you stand. Before the broken pyramid, its eastern face catches the sun, not as a mirror, but as a wound. Ethan climbs its fractured steps, while Ava watches from below, sketching its damaged angles. You follow. At the summit, the air feels thinner, brighter, but not in clarity. In pressure, you close your eyes, and once again time folds. You are back, not as yourself, but as another. You wear linen robes, you hold a chisel. You stand among thousands as a new pyramid rises, not one you've seen before, smaller, smoother, built not to house a king, but to contain an object, a power. You feel its hum beneath your feet. Pulsing through the scaffolding, a priest stands beside you. His face is masked, golden, faceless. He speaks in a voice that is not speech. It must be buried beneath forgetting. You nod, though you do not understand. The capstone is lowered, and the dream breaks. You awaken, sitting in sand, breathing hard. Ava kneels beside you, concern in her eyes. You passed out, she says gently. You look to Ethan. His expression is grim. The crystal's reacting, he says, more now, stronger. Ava speaks slowly, thinking aloud. What if that broken summit wasn't caused by time? Or collapse? You already know. You saw it. It was opened. You return to the chamber where the stone disk was found. This time Ava traces the orbit again. Her finger moves with increasing speed, pausing over the point marked 2032. There's something here. She murmurs, look between the orbits. A secondary ring. She draws it. It completes a spiral, a symbol hidden within the system. Ethan frowns. A glyph? No, she says softly. A sigil. She flips her notebook and sketches it again. You watch it form. It is simple. A circle within a triangle. A shape you've seen before carved into the lid of the high priest's tomb. A warning outside. The sky begins to change. A sandstorm brews, rising not from wind, but from stillness. The dunes shift not by force, but by memory. As if they are remembering what was buried, you all pack quickly. The wind howls not as weather, but as voice. You ride hard through the storm, through the shrieking quiet. The pyramid vanishes behind you like a ship sinking into ocean. You don't look back, not because you aren't curious, but because something inside you knows it's looking back. That night you camp far from the sight. The stars reemerge, the sky clears, but the feeling does not. Ethan studies the crystal, his brow furrowed in silence. Ava sits cross-legged, flipping through the scrolls and star charts. Her face is lit with conviction and worry. She looks up. If the alignment opens a gate, Ethan finishes. Then something can cross through. You watch the crystal's glow mirror the stars, a perfect rhythm, a perfect promise, and the question presses through the silence like a breath against your neck. Were the pyramids built to honor the gods or to keep something older locked beneath them? The next morning arrives not with birdsong or warmth, but with quiet, a strange quiet, the kind that thickens the air like fog without moisture. It folds around your ears, dampens the world. Even the wind seems to hesitate. You stir beside the dying fire. Ava is already up, crouched beside a slab of limestone she uncovered before dawn. Her fingers trace its etched surface, as if trying to remember a dream she never had. Ethan leans over her shoulder, watching with an intensity not unlike prayer. You rise and drift toward them. There on the stone, a new carving has been revealed. Not placed, not drawn, but summoned as if the desert offered it during the night. A map, but not of land. Of thresholds, portals, moments. You recognize some of the symbols. The Eye of Horus, the Cycle of Ra, the alignment of Sirius. But at the center is something different. A triple spiral, not Egyptian, older. Ava whispers. This symbol, it predates even pre-dynastic Egypt. Ethan narrows his eyes. How? Far back are we talking? Before record, before even oral myth, you reach out, your fingers hovering just above the center. And suddenly, the world bends. You are standing in a chamber, deep below ground. No light, yet you see. No sound, yet you hear. A dozen robed figures kneel in a perfect circle. At the center, a figure stands, face obscured, arms raised. They are not praying. They are remembering. Behind them, a pyramid, half built, half buried. Before them, an altar of obsidian and starlight. The figure speaks not with voice, but thought. We do not build to reach heaven. We build to hold the gate. A moment later, the altar pulses, and what lies upon it vanishes in a flare of light. You wake with a start, back in the desert, back beneath the rising sun. Ava is staring at you. You saw it, didn't you? You nod. I felt it, she whispers. Ethan glances between you both. We're not just following clues anymore. We're part of the pattern. He unrolls a new sheet of papyrus. It's an old temple schematic Karnak, perhaps, but modified. There are tunnels beneath, marked in faded ink, routes not known to tourists, not shared in guidebooks. There's something under Thebes, he says, something the pyramids point toward, but don't contain. Ava draws a breath. A final convergence. You pack quickly and ride. The journey to Thebes takes days. Each night, the stars feel closer. Each morning, the sun rises quieter, as though waiting. By the time you arrive, the temples loom like sleeping giants. The columns of Karnak stretch into the sky, their inscriptions half-eaten by time, but what lies beneath them remains untouched. You descend through a broken shaft at the temples. Edge, a chamber waits below, hidden, buried, brimming with the breath of centuries there. Etched into the stone beneath centuries of soot and limestone flakes. The triple spiral. Ava kneels and begins to decipher the surrounding symbols. Her voice is low, reverent. They called it Zep Tepi. The first time, Ethan crouches beside her. Creation? No, she says, her fingers trembling. Recreation. You lean in. The glyphs tell of an age long before dynasties, before gods were named, a time when the stars changed and something crossed over. Not a creature, not a being, but an idea. It came not to destroy, but to teach. And the pyramids were not its temples. They were its boundaries. You move deeper into the earth, and to a place carved not by tools, but by purpose. This chamber is unlike the others. No gold, no treasure, just black stone walls, perfectly smooth. A circle in the center, empty, waiting. Ava whispers, "The crystal belongs here." Ethan slowly removes it from his satchel. The moment it touches, the stone light blooms, but not outward, inward. The walls shimmer, and suddenly stars. You are inside a map, a celestial sphere. Planets revolve around you, moons, comets, all real, all ancient. But there at the edge of the known, a dark shape moves, a forgotten orbit, a second sun, a twin of silence. It returns, always. Ava gasps. It's a cycle. Ethan closes his eyes. We're the next alignment. The sphere fades, the crystal dims, you all fall quiet. Beneath you, the ground stirs. A hum begins, and a question rise unspoken. But everywhere, did we build pyramids to remember the sooner, to remind the dark that we are still watching? A chamber breathes around you, not with air, but with intention, a slow, steady pulse, like the quiet thrum of a deep current just beneath still water. The kind of rhythm that reminds you you are not alone and never truly were. The stars fade. From the walls, retreating into the stone as though they were never there. But their echo lingers. Ava stares down at the floor where the crystal rests in its stone circle. Her voice barely breaks the silence. What happens if we leave it here? Ethan is silent. So are you. You all feel it, the pull, a choice. This place was built not as a tomb, but as a lock, a mechanism. The crystal is not a key. It is the pin. Remove it and something opens. Leave it and something slumbers. But how long? You rise together, the decision left unspoken, not out of fear, but out of reverence. You do not need answers. The pyramid remembers. You ascend through the winding shaft, emerging once more into the brilliance of Theban daylight. The temple above looms silently, columns standing like sentinels. Tourists gather in the distance, unaware, smiling, pointing at statues. You watch them with strange affection. You are no longer part of that world, not fully. You've heard the hum behind the stone. You've touched the breath of Zep Tepi. You've seen the sky from beneath, and now everything is different. That night, under the open stars, you camp in silence. Ava writes, Ethan carves, you rest, but not. Deeply your dreams are full, of suns that rise sideways, of pyramids that fold in on themselves, of a voice deep, serene, endless whispering. The cycle is not punishment. The forgetting is not failure. The remembering is return. In the morning, Ethan pulls out a folded sketch, not of a map, of a face, a young man, eyes sharp, hair wild, posture full of promise. A note beside it, Darius. Thieves' Opet Festival. Ava sees it and nods, as if some old riddle has clicked into place. You listen, you understand another alignment is coming, but not in the stars and lives and people. You are not the only one who remembers. You never were later. As you pack the tent, Ava holds the crystal one last time. She tilts her head and whispers, "Do you hear it?" You listen, and you do. Not sound, not words, but recognition. Like a song you've forgotten and suddenly remember the chorus. She smiles faintly, wraps the artifact in cloth, and places it in her satchel. "Let it sleep," she says, and you ride. Into the rising sun. Far behind you, the temples return to stillness. The hidden chamber dims. The spiral awaits, and the pyramid once again becomes just stone to those who cannot hear. But to you it hums, and in the hush of its presence a final question breathes against your thoughts. What if the pyramids were never meant to last forever, but to awaken only when we need them most? You drift now, not through sand, but through ink. The dream has changed. No longer do you walk beneath stars or touch warm stone. Now you float between words ancient, tangled, whispering. This is not the story of a place. It is the story of a scroll that should not exist. You are in a library, not a grand hall, but a forgotten room hidden beneath the British Library, behind doors that no longer creak, behind codes no one alive remembers. Dust hangs in the air like the breath of the past. You walk slowly between shelves that have not been disturbed in centuries. The books here are bound not in leather, but in silence. You feel it before you see it. A faint vibration, a low hum of presence. Then your eyes fall upon it, nestled between volumes on Phoenician trade routes and Mesopotamian astronomy. A scroll lies rolled in a velvet-lined box. It does not match its surroundings. Its case is darker, its seal unbroken but trembling. You reach for it, it does not resist, but it remembers you are Ethan now. Your hands tremble as you remove the lid. Inside, aged papyrus, sealed with a glyph you do not recognize. Your eyes narrow. You have spent your life decoding symbols, but this does not belong to any known script. You feel your pulse quicken. You tuck the scroll into your satchel, your fingers shaking slightly as you close the case and slide it back onto the shelf. The door closes behind you, but something has followed you out. Not a spirit, not a sound, but the knowing. You run through the rain-soaked streets of London, past black cabs and flickering gaslights. The scroll hums beneath your coat, and as you walk into your flat, the air shifts. You do not notice it, but the shadow beneath the door deepens. You arrive in a quiet university hallway. You knock once, then push open the door. Ava sits at her desk, surrounded by tomes and half-drunk coffee. She does not look up, Ethan. She sighs. If this is about your cursed map fragment again. You drop the scroll onto her notes. She freezes, looks up, then slowly picks it up. The room grows still. Rain taps the window behind her. Her eyes scan the seal, then the glyph her breath catches. This can't be real, Ethan smiles. I thought you'd say that. Ava leans in. It's a hybrid. He nods. That was my guess too, Egyptian, yes, but something older, something outside the dynastic period. She unrolls a fragment carefully. Symbols drift across the surface. They shimmer ever so slightly, not with light, but with movement, the symbols. Breathe. You are Ava now. Your fingers trace the hybrid glyphs. Your eyes devour the structure. Not just language, not even ritual, engineering. It speaks of a pyramid not on any record, a hidden one, a temple buried so deep even the gods forgot it. And it gives you a location, not exact, but a riddle, where the sun kisses the sand in silence. and the jackal's shadow falls before dawn, there shall the entrance be born anew. Your heart skips. This is not a hoax. This is real. That night, the two of you sit in Ethan's. Flat lanterns flicker. The scroll lies between you, now partially decoded. It speaks of celestial timings, unseen pyramids, a priesthood erased from memory, and something buried with purpose, not to honor, but to protect. Ava leans forward, eyes gleaming. We can't share this. Ethan nods. Not yet, she whispers. They'll laugh us out of every hall, or worse, steal it. So you begin planning. Quietly, carefully, you mark the stars, you book the passage. You buy supplies that feel more like offerings than tools. And one morning, before the city wakes you vanish. Weeks pass, you cross into Cairo beneath a sky smeared with sun and spice. The scroll is safe, always wrapped in cloth, always close to Ava's chest. You rent a small vehicle, old, weathered. You drive until the roads give way to sand, and then further until the air grows silent again. You camp just north of the old city. The scroll lies unrolled beneath the stars. Ava points. Look, she says. It's tonight. The alignment? Ethan squints. The stars are shifting, subtly, but enough. She leans down and whispers to the scroll. Not a spell, not a chant, but a promise. We found you, far ahead. The dunes shift. Not with wind, but with memory. You rise to your feet as the sand begins to curve inward. And something long buried remembers the light. The dunes begin to bow, not like hills pushed by wind, but like breath exhaled from beneath the earth. You stand beside Ava, your hands trembling, the scroll warm against your chest. The air grows heavy, not with heat, but with pressure, as though something ancient is rising, not violently, but deliberately. You step forward, and the desert opens, slowly, softly, like a curtain parting in a temple long forgotten. A valley yawns between the dunes, one that had not existed moments ago. Its edges are too perfect, its lines intentional. At the center, partially unearthed by the shifting sands, is a stone archway. It is modest, unadorned, yet beneath it darkness hums. You descend, breath shallow. Each step stirs memories beneath your feet, echoes of sandals, of chants, of torches long extinguished. Ava runs her fingers along the edge of the arch. It's not limestone. Ethan leans in. Basalt, obsidian? No, something harder. The material swallows light. You light a torch, the flame flickers, and then reluctantly glows. Inside, the passage curves gently. It does not feel man-made. It feels grown, as if the temple shaped itself around the scrolls. Memory, the walls bear no carvings, no gods, no names. Only one repeated symbol, the triple spiral. You touch it. It hums against your skin, alive ahead. The air shifts. You feel it in your lungs, cool, clean, untouched. And then you enter the first chamber. You stand at the edge of a circular room. At its center, a low table of black stone. Upon it, a second scroll, unwrapped, waiting. You exchange a glance with Ava, cautious, reverent. She steps forward and lifts it. There is no dust, no resistance. She unrolls it beside the first and gasps. Ethan leans over her shoulder. It's the same language. No, she whispers. Response. The scroll you carried here had spoken of location. This one speaks of function. It does not describe a tomb or a temple, but a vessel, a chamber built to contain not a person but a thought too powerful to exist unbound. Ava reads aloud, and so we sealed the hunger of stars. beneath the breath of sand, where silence may feed it instead of blood. Ethan looks up. What does that mean? You all fall silent. The walls hum in response. You continue deeper. Each chamber opens with less resistance than the last, as if the temple remembers you. The scroll's presence smooths your path, but that welcome feels conditional, as though the walls are watching, listening, judging. In the third chamber, you find a pool, still, black, glass-like, no ripples, no reflection. Ethan crouches beside it. Ava kneels opposite him. Between them, the pool begins to glow. Images rise from its surface, not rippling but forming. You see a city, ancient, vast, built around a pillar of light, not fire, but memory. Then it collapses, not with flame, but with forgetting. The pool stills. You rise. Breath caught in your throat. Neither of them speaks. Somewhere beneath the silence, you hear weeping. Not near, but in the stone. You reach a final door. Unlike the others, this one bears symbols. Ava traces them slowly. This is the seal. She murmurs. Ethan nods. It's what keeps the vessel closed. The scrolls hum softly in response. Ava reads aloud. To open the seal, two must carry memory, and one must forget. She looks at Ethan, then at you, then back at the door. There is no lock, only a choice. She reaches for the first glyph. You press. Your hand to the second. The stone warms, light spills between the cracks, and the door begins to open. Beyond it a chamber, unlike any other, smooth, circular, dark, empty. At its center, a pedestal. Upon it, a crystalline form, not the artifact you found before, but its mirror, its origin. The first crystal. It glows faintly, not brightly, but steadily, like a heartbeat inside the earth. Ava steps toward it. The moment she... Does the scrolls vanish, burned into light? No ash, no trace. Ethan shouts, but it's not anger, it's awe. The scrolls were never the treasure. They were the invitation. You stand before the crystal and realize it's not a power source. It's not a weapon. It's a memory, the last memory of a world before names. Ava reaches toward it, and you hear a voice, not hers, not Ethan's. If you remember, May will return. The room pulses, and the air shifts. You flee, not in fear, but because you must. Some knowledge is sacred, not because it is powerful, but because it is too complete. Outside, the sky darkens. Storms roll across the horizon. Stars blink one by one, and the desert stills. But in the folds of Ava's coat, the crystal glows faintly. A promise, a question, and a presence that should never have been known. Some knowledge sleeps best. Waking it would break the dream of the world. The desert stretches out before you, but it no longer feels empty. It listens now. You stand at the edge of the dig site, the buried temple slumbering behind you. Ava's satchel clinks softly as she shifts the weight of the crystal. Ethan sits beside the campfire, his eyes fixed not on the flames, but on the stars. Neither of them speaks, not for a long while, because words no longer feel adequate. Something has changed, not in the sand, not in the temple, but in you. The scrolls are gone. The path they carved burned itself clean from the page, but the memory remains, and the memory is now part of you. Later that night, Ethan unrolls a separate map, an older one, a fragment he'd hidden. Even from Ava, its edges are torn, the ink nearly vanished, but it matches. The curves of the hidden valley, the strange star patterns, the marker for the first memory. Ava peers over his shoulder, brow furrowed. These marks, she murmurs, they're Sumerian. But look, Ethan says, tapping one corner, overlaid with Egyptian starler and something else, a third language, a geometry. It predates language altogether. They all point to this same place. Ava whispers, this valley, this scroll. No, Ethan says slowly, to what was buried with it. He points to a word written in angular strokes, halfway erased by time. NGRU, not gods, but remembers. The next morning the wind is wrong. It carries no scent, no warmth, only the subtle tingle of static, the kind of air that feels like it remembers a storm. You pack quickly, but not from fear, from instinct. Ava holds the crystal like a sleeping child, gently but firmly. Ethan watches the horizon, and there, just before the sun crests fully, you all see it. A figure draped in desert robes, still, watching, not approaching, just waiting. Ava stiffens. Ethan narrows his eyes. He's not local, he murmurs. You say nothing, because the figure is too still, too precise, as though sculpted from the memory of someone who once walked this earth. Then, in a blink, he's gone. The journey back is longer, not because of distance, but because of weight. The desert feels heavier now. Each dune is a closed eye. Each gust of wind a sigh of something ancient. Still sleeping, still waiting, you arrive. At the edge of the Nile in silence, the boat is already waiting, arranged through no message, no call, but it knows everything does. That night in Cairo, you sleep restlessly. The city feels too loud, too alive. The memories press against your dreams. A chant in a language never spoken aloud. A door that only opens when all three moons align. And yet there is only one moon in the sky. A hand reaching out, not to grab, but to give. You wake before dawn. The crystal sits on the desk beside you, and though it makes no sound, it hums in your chest. At breakfast, Ava is pale. She hasn't slept. Ethan doesn't ask. She sets her notebook on the table. Drawings, translations, star paths, ancient rites. But at the bottom, one line written, not in her handwriting. You are not the first to awaken it. You stare at it. The ink is dry, but you know it wasn't there yesterday. The university in London greets you with polite apathy. No one notices the satchel. No one notices the eyes. But something watches. Not in shadow, but in forgetfulness. You pass through halls and libraries and lecture rooms, but every now and then a whisper, not real, but unmistakable. Ethan finally says what you're both thinking. This isn't over. Ava nods. It never was that evening. She scans the crystal under magnification. Beneath its surface, shapes shift, not dust, not impurities, but glyphs moving, living, updating. It is recording, it is learning, it is remembering through you. You step back. Ava stares at it, barely breathing. It's aware, Ethan whispers. We were never supposed to bring it out, but you did, and it is no longer alone. You sit beside the window outside. The sky glows with amber dusk inside. The air feels older than the bricks. You hold a copy of the scroll's translation. It ends mid-sentence, but the last full line repeats itself in your thoughts, soft as breath. We gave memory to the crystal echoes. The stars forget. The stars forget. But now you remember, and you wonder, if memory is alive, what else might awaken when we finally recall its name? You hold the crystal now. Not in your hands, but in your presence. It doesn't need to touch you anymore. It feels you across the room, responds to your breath, shifts with your thoughts. It glows softly on the table in Ava's study, bathing her. Papers in gentle green light, like moonlight reflected in deep waters. She's stopped calling it the artifact. Now she calls it what it is. The rememberer. Ethan paces behind her. He's restless, frustrated. There's a pattern. He says again, "We're missing something." She nods. It's not just memory, it's prophecy or recursion. They've stopped speaking in complete thoughts because the scroll's echoes are no longer linear. They move in spirals now, just like the triple glyph. You study Ava's wall. It's covered now. Strings, maps, satellite photos. But in the center is the symbol, drawn again and again by hand, by print, by shadow. The triple spiral, it appears everywhere, in tombs misdated by decades, in cave paintings long dismissed as decorative, even in an carving that should have. Had no contact with the Nile, all connected, not by geography, but by memory. It's a language, Ava says, but not phonetic, not pictographic. It feels. Ethan gestures at a newer photo. The same spiral is here, under Antarctica. You blink. The ice is thinning, he explains. A drone picked it up last month. Under the surface, a formation identical to the valley we found, but colder, Ava whispers, older. The crystal pulses. That night you all dreamed the same thing. You are standing on the edge of a frozen field. A pyramid lies buried beneath the snow. Not white, but obsidian, a black fang in the ice. The stars above it are wrong. There are too many and too few. You hear music, but not sung, played, on instruments your ears cannot name. You wake gasping. Ava is already up. She's drawing fast pages. Covered in a symbol you've never seen before. It is not from the scroll, but it belongs with it. The next day, Ethan receives an email, unmarked, anonymous, no subject line, just one sentence. The Vatican has one too. A photo attached, a crystal, identical, labeled in a 17th century hand, Lucerna Angelorum, the lantern of angels. You all go silent. Then Ava whispers, "They're not rare. They're placed," Ethan answers. Your world changes again. Suddenly the scroll wasn't an artifact. It was a node, a message fragment, and you, like countless others, just happened to find it. But why? Why now? In the weeks that follow, your research accelerates. Ethan flies to Turin. Ava meets with a linguist in Alexandria. You remain in London, cross-referencing seismic data and electromagnetic fields. Patterns begin to align. All of them point to a coming event, an astronomical alignment, yes, but not one predicted by science, by memory. The crystal pulses faster now. At night, it no longer rests, it watches. It projects brief flickers of starlight on the wall, maps, diagrams, symbols of things yet to happen, things that already did. One morning, a box arrives, no return address. Inside, a torn page from an old manuscript and a slip of paper with only 3 words. Hide it soon. Ethan reads it aloud. Ava stares at the crystal. She whispers, "It's begun." That night, something changes. You wake in total darkness. No city sounds, no power, no time. Just a crystal glowing beside you, brighter than ever. It hums, it sings, and in that light you see them, shapes, not people, figures, not shadows. They stand in the corners of the room, not threatening, not moving, just witnessing. They are watching the crystal, not you. You hold your breath, and then the light vanishes. They are gone, but the presence remains. You regroup, You talk less, you listen more. The crystal no longer responds. To language, it responds to intention. Ava places it inside a sphere of mirrored obsidian. To protect it, to focus it, you don't know, but it glows still. It remembers still, and in its pulse, you begin to see a shape, not literal, not visual, but a rhythm, a countdown, and Ava finally whispers what you've all avoided saying. What happens when it finishes remembering? The sky crystal no longer dims at night. It pulses soft, steady, hypnotic. Each glow seems to stretch the silence in the room. Each dimming a breath the world has forgotten how to take. You sit across from it, watching, not with fear, but with reverence, because something is coming, and deep within you. Beneath names and knowledge and skin you feel ready. Ava sits in the far corner, scribbling notes in a journal that's half paper, half memory. She's no longer cross-referencing translations. Now she simply listens to the light, listens to the hum, listens to the story that keeps rewriting itself. Ethan, by contrast, has grown more still. He no longer searches maps, no longer follows leads. He simply watches the spiral, the one etched in charcoal on the wall, the one he draws over and over again when he thinks no one sees. It is nearly dawn. The crystal flares just once, and Ava rises wordless, as if it called her. She opens the small glass case that once held the scrolls, empty now, but not forgotten. She places the crystal inside, and for a moment the case vanishes, not in light, not in fire, but in memory. You all see the same vision, a doorway, a vast desert, a pillar of light splitting the stars, and one word etched into the sand. Remember. You come to hours later, none of you speak. There is nothing to say. The crystal no longer pulses. It glows constant, unwavering, a beacon or a warning. Days pass, but time does not return to normal. You dream things that feel older than time, a voice that speaks in tides, a pyramid beneath snow, whispering a lullaby in a forgotten tongue, a sun that rises backward, and a face yours, not as you are, but as you were, as if the scroll had never been a message for you, but from you. From before the forgetting, one evening, the lights flicker across the city. A tremor passes beneath the earth. You feel it more than hear it. A soundless knock at the bones of the world, and far away, beneath stone and silence, something stirs, not evil, not divine, just awake. Ava begins closing the notebooks. One by one, she seals them in wax. No labels, no names, only the spiral Ethan buries. Them in the countryside, in basements, in old chests passed off to antique dealers who will never know what they hold. Not out of fear, but out of timing. Let them sleep, Ava whispers, placing the last of them beneath the floorboards. And when the world is ready, she doesn't finish the sentence, because the crystal glows just a little brighter and speaks in its own way. You were always meant to find me, and I was always meant to return. The stars shine differently now. You feel it each time you look up, as though the sky is no longer observing, but remembering too, what was buried, what was sealed, what was offered, the scroll that should not existed only because memory demands. Return, and as you drift into sleep cradled, not by comfort, but by myth, you hear the final whisper of the rememberer. What you call prophesies only memory waking up. The dream ends softly, but it does not close, because some scrolls are not meant to be read once. They are meant to be carried, to live, to wait. So now, As you close your eyes, as the hush of story settles into the hush of sleep, ask yourself, was the scroll truly lost, or was it simply waiting for you to remember what you already knew? You feel it before you see it, a hum beneath your ribs, a rhythm behind your breath, a slow, inevitable alignment of things too vast to name. The stars are beginning to speak. You awaken in the high desert, not to bird song or sunrise, but to stillness, a stillness so deep, even time seems to listen. You rise slowly from your bedroll. Ava is already awake, standing barefoot on the ridge. Her silhouette is painted in soft moonlight. Ethan sits nearby, sketching the constellations without looking up, as though his hand is remembering rather than drawing. None of you speak. There is no need above you. The sky turns. Sirius glows in the southeast. Orion reclines along the horizon, and there, hovering just beyond the normal arc, a pale, unfamiliar star flickers. Not a star, not exactly, it's the marker, the sign, the return. You walk in silence to the observation circle, a ring of standing stones carved long before any nation rose, waits quietly in the sand. Ava enters first, holding the crystal in both hands like a votive flame. Ethan follows, placing down the scroll's final diagram. You enter last. The stars above shift. The air grows cold, not from temperature but from recognition. You stand within. The circle and the ritual begins. There is no chanting, no script, only movement. Ava steps to the northern stone, Ethan to the west, you move to the east. The southern marker stands empty, and suddenly you are four. A shape moves into the circle's southern quadrant. You do not turn, you do not breathe, because you know it is not a person, not a god, not a ghost. It is memory given shape. It stands. It waits, and then, softly, it bows its head. The alignment has begun. The stars above shimmer. Not brighter, but clearer. The constellations realign, not as they are, but as they once were. Ava lifts the crystal. Its glow answers, and above you, the sky responds. Lines of light, soft, pale, ancient, connect the stars. A lattice of intention, a language drawn across the cosmos. You are not looking at the night sky. You are looking at a map, a circuit, a ceremony, and in its center Earth, you, this. Moment Ethan's hand trembles, he whispers, This is the diagram. From the second scroll, Ava nods, her voice a hush. This is the alignment. You look down at the ground beneath your feet. The sand has shifted, not by wind, by memory. New glyphs spiral outward from the crystal's light. The same triple spiral, but now complete, and it pulses once, twice, then slowly spreads light through the entire circle. The fourth figure, still faceless, kneels, places a hand upon the earth. The light shifts, and the sky responds. Sirius brightens. Orion folds inward, and then, like a key turning in a cosmic lock, a beam of light descends. Not from the moon, not from the stars, from a point between them. It lands directly upon the crystal, and the earth trembles softly like a sleeping giant rolling in its slumber. Ava gasps. Ethan steps back, and you step forward. Into the light. It doesn't burn. It remembers you, washes over you like a story retold. You see flashes a pyramid beneath the sea, a temple inside a glacier, a scroll carved into bone, a child with silver eyes born beneath an eclipse. Each vision is a truth, a past that is also future, a memory that is also prophecy, and in the center of it all the rememberers, not people, not gods, but those who carry. From age to age, from breath to breath, you open your eyes. You are still in the circle. The figure is gone. The crystal lies dormant in the sand, and the stars have returned to their usual places. Ava sinks to her knees. Ethan says nothing. You look up and feel it. The moment has passed. The alignment has ended, but something stayed inside you, a mark not physical, but ancestral, a knowing. As you sit beside your companions, the desert wind finally stirs. It brings no sand, only a single question. Were we watching the stars, or were they waiting for us to remember our place among them? The desert is still again, but not empty. The sand seems to exhale as dawn creeps across the horizon, brushing warmth across ancient stone. The standing circle rests in silence, like a tuning fork that has just rung out its final tone. You sit beside the dimmed crystal. It no longer glows, and yet it radiates, not with light, with presence. Ava breaks the silence, her voice a soft tremor in the air. Something changed. Ethan nods. We passed through a threshold. You close your eyes because you know it's true, not just in theory, not in imagination, but in body. Your bones feel different, quieter, as though something that once reached outward now listens inward. You all pack slowly, with the reverence of priests dismantling an altar. No one speaks of the fourth figure, not directly, but its presence lingers as if it watches from within, not behind you, through you, back at the makeshift base. Ava unfurls the charts again, but the constellations no longer align. Not with each other, not with the maps. The night sky has shifted, slightly, subtly, but enough. The math doesn't work anymore. Ethan runs equations 3 times. Each gives a different result. Time has warped, and yet your watches still tick. Ava whispers a thought you've all been avoiding. What if the alignment wasn't astronomical? Ethan looks up. You mean symbolic? No, she says, internal. She lifts the crystal again. What if we weren't just witnessing the event? What if we were part of it? You feel it then, that subtle gravity inside your chest. Not emotion, not fear, but awareness. You were not observers, you were conductors. The circuit is in you now. Later that day, you receive a signal, not a call, not a message, a pull, subtle, magnetic. It draws you north, toward a canyon marked on no map. And once again the desert opens. You descend slowly. Stone walls rise on either side, carved not by water, but by intention. The canyon narrows, then broadens again, revealing a sunken terrace of basalt and copper-veined granite. At its center, a slab, perfect, polished, waiting. Ethan kneels and brushes the sand away, and there, etched into its surface, is a diagram, the standing circle, the beam of light, the crystal, and at the very center is spiral carved in obsidian. You all fall silent. Then Ava whispers, almost reluctantly, we're being guided. You camp beside the terrace that night. The stars blaze above, unfamiliar once again. Ethan points to a constellation near the southern horizon. That one used to be higher. We're not in the same sky. You listen to the wind curling between stone and silence. It sounds different now, as if translating something from above into something beneath, like music through a cracked door just before sleep. Ava murmurs, the pyramid beneath Sirius. You nod. You've dreamed of it too. She continues, it's not waiting for us. It's remembering us. And you feel it true. In a way words can't hold, the alignment did not mark a beginning. It marked a return. At dawn the crystal pulses once, not bright, but soft, as though sighing, and Ava speaks. There's more, not greedily, not excitedly, but like someone remembering the second verse of a song long forgotten. The alignment opened. A door in what lies beyond Ida's calling. You pack again. No destination marked. No coordinates entered, but you feel it. The journey is not forward. It is downward, inward. You are not chasing discovery. You are sinking into remembrance as the sun rises behind you. You step away from the canyon and into the open desert. You don't leave footprints. The wind covers them too quickly, or perhaps they were never yours to leave. And as the crystal hums faintly against Ava's chest, a single thought curls through the stillness like smoke. What if the stars never moved at all but waited for our eyes to realign with truth? You walk for hours, but time no longer measures distance. It measures depth. Every step forward feels like a step down into layers not of rock, but of memory. The land grows quieter, not with absence, but with awareness. Even the sand seems to still itself for your passage. And then, on the third horizon, you see it. Half buried beneath gold and shadow, a black obelisk. Its surface gleams like wet stone, though no water has touched it in millennia. You approach slowly. The air shifts, the heat fades, and in its place a hush, the kind that hums in your ears when something vast is listening. The obelisk bears no inscriptions, no kings, no gods, only lines, etched so finely they disappear if you stop moving, lines that form circles, circles that spiral inward, and at the base, just above the sand, a single opening, a doorway not made for doors, low, narrow, breathless. You kneel and enter inside. The dark is soft. It is not the dark of caves or tombs. It is the dark of waiting. Your torch barely flickers, not from wind, but from agreement. The flame understands. It will not scream in this place. You move carefully through the tunnel. Ethan follows, his fingers grazing the smooth wall. Ava behind him, cradling the crystal, and somewhere ahead a sound like a heartbeat, but not yours, not human. Stone remembering, the tunnel opens into a wide chamber. At its center, a model of the solar system, but different. The sun is not central. It is mirrored two stars, spiraling around one another. A binary system at its edge, a constellation you cannot name. Ava steps forward, tracing it with her hand. These were the old maps, she whispers. Before Earth chose forgetting, Ethan exhales. And now the memory's waking. You all stare in silence, because what's worse than remembering two ladies remembering exactly on time? You move deeper into the chamber. Beyond the model is a staircase spiraling downward. You descend, not into cold, but into silence so deep it hums. At the bottom, another room, square perfect, inscribed on every wall, a single scene, repeated over and over, a beam of light from the stars, striking a pyramid and awakening a form inside. Not a man, not a god, but a pattern like geometry alive. Ava runs her fingers along the etchings. This isn't prophecy, she whispers. It's instruction. Ethan steps beside her. A ritual. No, she says, a reactivation. You touch the central image. The moment you do, the room changes. The walls soften, the stone breathes, and from the ceiling, light pours down, though there is no opening. It strikes the floor and reveals a circle of glyphs. 6 symbols, spaced equally. The crystal glows. One of them pulses in answer. Ethan kneels. It's responding. Ava studies it. It wants us to choose. You don't know what the symbols mean, but you feel them. Each one hums differently. Hope, loss, fire, stone, blood, and something else, something like stillness. Ava reaches for the stillness. Ethan for fire. You close your eyes and choose stone. The moment your hands connect, the chamber shifts. A hum rises from beneath the floor, not mechanical, not spiritual, just alive. The light flares, and the room becomes sky. You stand now within a sphere of stars, not mapped, not distant, present. They burn quietly around you, watching, not judging, just waiting. Ava stares upward, breathless. Ethan holds the crystal in both hands now. Its light dances across his face, and the question settles softly into your bones. What did we forget, oh, deserve remembering this? You do not answer. The stars do not ask again. They simply turn, and the floor beneath you opens, not downward, but inward into a spiral hallway of light. You descend, and somewhere in that gentle fall, the stars begin to whisper your name, not the one you speak aloud, but the one you've always carried in silence. The spiral glows beneath your feet, not blinding, not bright, but steady, a soft rhythm beneath every step. The walls around you shimmer as though made from the night sky itself, velvet and vast, punctuated by pinpricks of memory. Each star you pass flickers, not with light, with emotion. You feel joy, then grief, then awe, then recognition, as if each star is a fragment of lives you've almost lived. Ava walks ahead of you now. The crystal cradled in her hands glows with a steady warmth, its light reaching ahead to stir the path gently open. Behind her, Ethan marks the walls as he walks. But the spiral is infinite. There are no corners, no ends, only soft, perfect motion. You pass a series of carvings. Each one reveals a moment, a pyramid built by candlelight. Though the hands that shape it are not human, a priesthood in white robes, watching as stars fall like tears, a group of children being taught to sing in tones that lift stones from the ground, a woman alone in a circle of fire, whispering to the sky and having it answer. Ava slows before that last one. I've seen her, she murmurs, in dreams. In mirrors, Ethan says nothing, but the air answers in its own way, a low hum, like a hand brushing ancient silk. You enter a circular chamber, perfectly smooth, perfectly quiet. There is no floor, no ceiling, only here, in the center, a sphere hovers crystal, like the one Ava carries, but immense, rotating gently within it. Stars swirl, but they do not match any constellation, you know. Ava approaches, the sphere responds, it leans as if listening. The glyphs from before appear on its surface, this time in motion. They cycle, drift, settle, and one begins to pulse, a new symbol, a new choice. Ethan frowns. We've never seen. That one, it's not from the scrolls, Ava whispers. It's from now. She reaches toward it. So do you, so does he. The sphere bursts with silent light, not blinding, revealing. Suddenly you are not in the chamber. You are standing in a field of stars. You float weightless, bodiless, endless, beside you. Ava, wide-eyed, hair floating like ink in water. Ethan, mouth open in reverent silence, and in front of you, a memory, but not yours, a pyramid on a planet of glass, an eclipse that bends time around its own edge, a species that speaks not in voice but in resonance. They show you something. Earth, as it was, before words, before breath, before forgetting, they do not speak, but, you know, Earth is one of many vessels, a remembering place, a circuit point in a greater alignment, a planet of resonance. and now, at last, it is humming again. You return to the chamber. The sphere dims, but the hum remains. This time inside you, you feel it behind your heart. Like a second pulse you look. To Ava she nods, it's in us now. Ethan places a hand on the wall. The stone trembles, not from danger, but from acknowledgement. You are no longer visitors. You are remembered, and you are remembering back. As you exit the chamber, the spiral tightens. Each step upward brings light, and when you reach the surface again, the desert is no longer silent. It sings, not with sound, but with presence. The wind moves differently. The shadows stretch in patterns. You are still in Egypt, still under a familiar sky, but everything is awake, and the stars above, they are waiting. Again that night you do not sleep, not fully. You lie beside the fire, eyes closed but soul listening. The crystal lies between you, no longer just an object. It is a memory, a key, and now a witness to what's coming. Because the alignment was not a one-night event, it was a bell, a signal, a door cracking open, and the hum beneath your chest is the first sign that more is on its way. The fire cracks, Ava shifts in her blanket. Ethan whispers, "How many more of these places are there?" You listen to the sky, and without speaking, the answer arrives. Not place, but moments, and you are stepping into the next one now. Morning comes slowly, as if the sun must negotiate its return. The dunes gleam in silence. No footprints remain. Even your own presence feels soft, as though the desert has already begun to forget you, or perhaps absorb you. You sit beside the dying fire. The crystal rests in Ava's lap, no longer glowing, but not asleep. Nothing sleeps now. Not really. Ethan pours water into tin cups. The steam curls upward, not into the air, but into shapes, brief, fleeting. Spirals, stars, a pair of outstretched hands. Ava sees them too. She doesn't flinch. She watches, accepts. The alignment hasn't ended. It's everywhere now. Later that day, you walk together through a basin of wind-polished stone. The canyon walls are lined with glyphs, not etched, but emerging. Ethan pauses. These weren't here last time. You know, he's right. The symbols aren't from dynasties or empires. They're living, still writing themselves. The wall itself is remembering. Ava touches one. It pulses gently, like a heartbeat, and then you all hear it. A low vibration, deep in the canyon floor. Not a threat, not a call, an acknowledgement, like a door opening, not in front of you, but within that night. As you set camp beneath an overhang of smooth black rock, Ava unrolls her notebook. She's not writing. She's listening, letting her pen follow something older than thought. Symbols filled the page, new ones, never seen, but known. Her hand trembles, not from fear, but from memory too big to carry alone. She turns the notebook toward you. In the center, a diagram. 6 circles, one in the middle around them, small arcs, and in the margin, this isn't a map. Ethan leans closer. It's a resonance pattern. Ava nods. A transmission, a return path. You all fall silent, because you understand. You didn't just receive a message, you became one. Somewhere in the night, the wind shifts, soft, gentle, but layered. You hear it under the rustling cloth of the tent. You hear it in your breath, a distant sound. A whisper. No, not a whisper. A word spoken not in language, but in memory. Soon. You wake before sunrise. The stars are dimming, but just before they vanish, they rearrange. For the briefest moment, they form the triple spiral, and then gone at breakfast. Ava finally says it aloud. They're not just watching anymore. Ethan doesn't respond. He doesn't need to, because the knowing is everywhere now, in the echo of boots against stone, in the way firelight reflects backward, in the silence between your words. They remember you because you remembered them. You leave the basin quietly. You do not mark the path. It will not be found by those who do not carry memory. You do not speak of what comes next, because it is not a destination. It is an arrival, a returning spiral, a vow answered. Back in Cairo, the world continues as before. Markets bustle, phones ring, planes fly, but you move through it differently now, like a shadow with breath. Like a name the sky is slowly learning to say again. Ethan buys a ticket to the Andes. Ava is already planning to sail for Micronesia. They don't tell you why, but they don't need to. You each carry a piece of the map, not on paper, but in pulse, in presence, in purpose. As you close the door to your apartment that night, crystal flickers once in your bag, and you hear the voice again, calm, warm, certain. The next gate opens where silence and sound become the same. You turn off the lights, lie on your bed, and look out the window at the stars. You do not seek constellations. You wait, you listen. And before you drift to sleep, a final thought whispers through you. Perhaps the stars never asked for worship on me, that we remember our part in their dreaming. And now, as the last ember of night begins to fade and the quiet hum of time settles into stillness, you find yourself resting at the edge of everything, where myth and memory blur, where runes become dreams, and dreams become the soft light that carries you gently home. The temples you wandered, the artifacts you touched, the lullabies you heard sung by wind and stone, they are with you still. Tucked safely within the folds of your breath, you carry them now, not as weight, but as warmth, a hush, a promise, a whispered reminder that even in silence, stories linger. Out there, somewhere, the moon still casts her silver glow on forgotten paths. Fireflies still blink softly above mossy altars. Ancient lakes still cradle the voices of those long gone. But here, in this stillness you found, it's enough to know they exist, that they remember that you were here. So let your thoughts grow quieter now. Let your breath slow like a gentle tide returning to shore. There's no more need to wonder, no more ruins to explore tonight, only stillness, only sleep. And as you drift, know that the stories will wait for you curled in corners of forgotten cities, hidden in the rustle of sacred leaves glowing faintly. In the mirrors of time, good night, traveler of myths. Sleep well beneath the stars.